recognitions of people coming in. We have a camera. The first thing I want to do is we have a camera here. Is there anybody who has a problem with being photographed?
Too ugly here.
The next question is, do we have any other liars here?
I don't want to get sued for breaking the camera.
Just so you know, I mean, that's one of the things we try to do, and it's recognition of people. Recognition of people and their needs. Is there somebody who can't be photographed? You notice I made a big issue about being in a circle. I feel like it makes a difference. So we're going to get started. We may have people coming in, and we'll just try to quietly incorporate people as we go along. I want us. So the work we're talking about comes out of this book called Doing Democracy. Bill Moyer, not Bill Moyers, but Bill Moyer, who wrote this book, was in the movement for about 40 years during the Civil Rights Movement in that era. That's 40 years. Did a lot of work, a lot of activism, and came out of it seeing a couple of things. He's seeing people being ineffective. He's seeing people being frustrated. He's seeing people. He's seeing a process which where people could be much more effective and much less overwhelmed and beat up by it. And the result of that was he wrote this book. It basically divides. Let me just pass it around. He basically has two things. He talks about stages of social movements, and he talks about roles within social movements. And I'm going to tell you the truth. There was a stage when I was in this movement, and I was in the middle of big mass marches, and I'm thinking, these folks around me, they really aren't my audience. I mean, they get it. That's why they're here. And I walked off to the edge, and I'm looking at the people at the counter process aside. I'm like, whoa, these dudes aren't my audience either. And I found myself wandering back in the middle, kind of wandering around, saying, give me a break. I gotta throw something. I gotta do something. And when I began to use this model, now I can name 4 or 5 other models for social movements, and they're all good. They have different roles, but different functions. But having some kind of map which works for you was kind of like giving me a periscope. So as I'm in the middle of a march of people who are all the same as me, and there's a counter protesters over there who are not my audience, I knew why I was there, and I knew where I was going, and that really lowered the anger level a lot. There's also a chapter in that book, chapter number 4. It's very thin. It shouldn't be buried in the middle, and it is about the powerlessness trap. It's about the reasons why people want to be powerless. It's about why people feel powerless. It's why people feel frustrated. In fact, if you read, there's a series of questions. It's like, oh yeah, he hits those questions right on top of each other. So we are going to try to quickly go over. We highly recommend using the book. If you like to use a different set of stages, I know I can give named several other ones. That's fine too. But it's really helpful to have a map. There's also, he talks about roles people play in social movements, and we'll be talking about that. And the important thing to remember when we get into that, I'll bring it up again, but it's really hard for people to catch this is not, the 4 rules are not roles of people. I am not one of those roles. There are 4 rules we feel. And in the morning I may be filling one, in the afternoon I might be filling the other. So anyway, anything that you want to add for a second?
Say your name.
Oh, and I got so involved with chairs. Of course, I'm Elliot Adams and Janet Chisholm. Janet Chisholm is Executive Director of Creating a Culture of Peace, which is a very valuable what I call basic training for nonviolence, because it covers a whole series of bases and does good foundational work. And I was going to have an introduction, which I didn't do either, but I think I'm going to do it anyway. What I'm going to ask you to do in inches of time, if each of you would turn to the person to your right, and just spend a few minutes sharing who you are.
Can each of us?
This is what the rocket looks like. What I was going to say is this is what leadership looks like. So let's count off twos. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Both of you, just quickly talk about your name, where you're from, and maybe something quick about, oh, that's not quick, just a word about how you're treated now. We'll be done in a couple of minutes. Can you guys grab your hands? So you all know each other. I have this sense we have a very reticent group that doesn't want to talk.
How about turning to the others?
I would, but for the interest of time, I'm not going to. Jen?
Okay. Welcome, everybody. We're glad you're here. We're going to have you get up and move around the room if you're comfortable with that in a minute. And to do that, we'll have to push the chairs into the center. If you are more comfortable sitting, then you'll just have to pivot. Okay? And that's possible. But we're going to walk the stages of a nonviolent social change movement. And we're going to do that using the 8 stages that Bill Moyer, the activist, talks about in his book. The whole point of doing this is to grow the movement. A lot of times we seem to be happy as peace activists that we know exactly what the right answers are. We're very self-righteous and all we need is us. No, we're not going to get anywhere. We need to grow the movement, and that means bringing more people in who aren't already. So around the stages you'll see that there's a percentage listed about how the public is with us. Maybe they're not marching, but they're with us. And he talks about how the movement may take 10 years. That's his studying of movements over a 40-year period in the United States. It's a long time. Interestingly enough, October 6th.
10 years.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Okay. Frustrating, but also he is helping us understand that we're not mechanical, we're not automatons or machines. It takes a while for people to change. We have to keep planting seeds and having demonstrations and talking to people and so on. We have to keep it, and people don't forget that. Okay. But because it's a fast food, fast-moving society, we seem to think that when we talk with somebody about peace and ending the war, they'll get it like that, especially if we have the big argument. It doesn't work that way. That's not the way we change. human beings change. So we're going to walk the stages. And one of the things I want to say before we start is that I get really concerned about the helplessness feeling, and Elliot was mentioning the feeling of being a victim that we seem to relish in, or a lot of people we know relish being in that position. I'm helpless, I can't do anything, it's the corporations, it's the government, it's the president, it's somebody. Okay. It's money. But if we don't begin to help more people feel like they have power to make change of any type, then we're not going to grow the movement. So that means that people outside the peace movement and the social justice movement, we need to have them begin to feel power. They have power to change things. In their schools, in their congregations, in their communities, right?
They joined the Tea Party.
Absolutely.
Well, there is something to learn from that.
Yes, there is.
And that's not the direction we want to go, but they feel, or it's appealing to them, to feel like they have power. So that's what we need to work on. Do you know there are people in church, my church in Hartford, Connecticut, would say to me, "You sure it's all right if I sign this petition? I might be on a blacklist. You sure it's all right if we go to the representative so-and-so's office? You sure it's okay? Well, I think we should talk to Pastor Bill and see if it's okay." I said, "He's on the committee for this." I mean, really, people are afraid. Okay? And people in the movement like us are often in despair because it hasn't happened yet. We haven't gotten everything we want. So Bill Moyer said the reason he wrote the book was he was sick and tired of people wallowing in despair. Know that you've made some successes. You've taken some steps, and celebrate. Hold some parties and don't just be long-faced. Have a party, he said. So we're going to start with stage one, and to do that, and Elliot's going to intersperse comments now and then when you think that they're necessary. Okay, so if you would all stand who feel comfortable standing, push the chairs in so we can walk around the side of the room, and congregate around stage one over here.
All over chairs, if you folks can move forward down over to stage one, I'll also take charge.
Bill Moyer, are you okay? Everybody okay?
We need to push these chairs.
More people than we expected. I'm going to ask for comments from you in a moment, but I'm going to go over his kind of labeling of stage one. It's normal time. And he says, the movement is seeing, we're the movement. We see that there's a problem that violates our core values. And we need to do some work. We have certain tasks that we need to do. We need to identify the problem, we need to organize, and we need to know we can change things. But the power holders have a different motivation. It's called keep the status quo. Profess, yeah, we uphold core values of our country, and we're going to hide any problems, any rumbles. And the public is not going to see the problem. The advocates, the movement is going to see a problem. The public is very few are concerned, and it's not public. It's not a big issue. Okay. So I'm going to start a movement with you right now. And it's very small. But it might give some people power who didn't think they had power. And this is the movement. It's September. We're in our neighborhood. Somebody's out watering the lawn. Somebody else is sending children off to school. Somebody else is walking a dog. Okay? We're out, we're kind of talking. It's nice weather today. And we realize that little kindergartners are starting to school for the first time. They're only 5 years old. They look awfully little. And they're walking watching them, and then we say to each other, oh my gosh, look at that big truck. Look, it's coming along the road. Oh, it's going so fast. Oh, and there's some more down there. Oh my goodness, it wasn't that way last year. What's going on? How do you feel about that?
Really hurt the kid.
It's going to hurt the kids. Well, anybody else have feelings about it?
You have to stop the
Wow.
truck. You have to stop the truck.
Stop the truck. Okay, what else?
Protect the kids.
Warn the kids.
Warn the kids.
Protect the kids.
Protect the kids. Anybody else have a comment?
Find out why the trucks are there.
Why are they there? Okay. Nobody else sees the problem much. We noticed it in our neighborhood. It's a small thing. Anybody feeling powerless though? We probably can't do anything about it, right? You know, it's just the way things are, and there's a lot of construction right now.
We need a crossing guard.
You need a crossing guard, you think?
We need to shut down the school.
Or shut down? Somebody else is gonna say, oh, no, that's
the street.
You need to stand there and slow the trucks down.
not. Okay,
I mean, in the moment, you've got kids right there to protect, in the moment, you know, you can't go through Congress
Okay.
to deal with why
that
the trucks
seems
are
really
there.
radical, I'm just not ready to stand on the road. But,
Listen, my 5-year-old's walking down the road and there's a convoy of trucks
Okay.
barreling down, it's like, hello?
okay, so this is the discussion that starts.
I'm reminded of the song, Cat Stevens song, Where Do the Children Play?
Yeah. Okay, now, we can make fun of this, but keep in your mind, we're using it as an example that every movement starts with a few people talking together, being upset about things, and having different ideas about how to do something about it, and how to get more people on board. So we don't have a lot of people who even care about it, but if we work through this stage, we'll probably get 5 to 10% other people in the community interested. And what the first part is there is a problem. We don't have the solution yet, but there is a problem. It's what we need to get people to agree to. So we need to identify the problem, organize. How are we going to organize?
Get the mothers.
Get the mother. Another idea.
Get other kids involved.
Get some kids involved. Anybody else?
I would go to the principal of the school.
You'd go to the principal.
And I would make sure that the city council understood that they were.
You're into stage 2, that's great. And somebody want to hold a gathering in your house?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to invite my neighbors, right? Good. This is the way we start.
Talk to the truck drivers. A lot of them don't want to endanger the kids.
That's great, and that is what we're going to have to do if we're going to build this movement. Okay, and we can change this. Like you said, it's our kids or it's our neighbors' kids. All right, stage 2's over here. And it's called Reveal the Failure of the Official Institutions. Reveal that failure. You need to be involved in it. Okay. So the power holders are going to use red tape, bureaucracy, to prevent any change. Once you all decide you want to change, the bureaucrats, the power holders are going to keep things status quo and not let a lot of other people know about it. The public, at the end of this stage, if we do a good job, 10 to 20% will know, yes, there is a problem. There is a problem. Our job, the movement, it has to educate ourselves and the public. Show the problem exists and that the power holders are responsible. And our task, do research. What kind of research could we do in our movement?
One thing is find out, is the problem generalized with traffic or is it specific to a construction company? If specific to a company, talk to the owner, tell them about the problem, and it either ends.
So the research is to find out if it's general or specific and to identify the parties, is what you're saying, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and maybe approach them. Somebody else?
Videotape the area.
Videotape, good research. What else?
Find a different route.
Find identify different routes.
Take advantage of the Freedom of Information Act.
Okay, and spell that out.
The paperwork, some paperwork involved, but you need to find out something that, information about decisions and policy of the government that they don't want to tell you about.
Okay.
You have a right.
So this might be partly about the routes, the roads.
Do a traffic study.
Do a traffic study.
Request that the city does a traffic study.
Ask the town council why they're letting commercial vehicles run through a residential neighborhood in the first place.
Okay, on the research issue, some other things you can do, you can take photographs, there's the videotape, photographs children compared to the height and the size of trucks and cars, right? How about counting vehicles, counting speed?
Getting the newspaper involved, write letters to the editors.
Yeah,
Also identify if this is an individual problem or it's endemic to the system.
Okay.
And if it's endemic to the system, we have other things.
all right, so we need to do research and become experts. A lot of times, these people think they can go and talk to others and just pull on the heartstrings, right? And we don't look very sophisticated and we don't look very informed. So we need to have the research, the data, the facts.
I think it can also be helpful to shape people's faith in the system generally, particularly in areas that are of interest to them, even though they might be not yet interested in this issue. If you can shape their faith in the leaders in general.
Okay, well, right now we're trying to go through, do the research, test and document the failure of the official channels. What are the official channels in this little movement we're starting? Some of you've named them.
Talk to the principal.
A permit.
The protective principal.
Talk to the principal.
Talk to the principal, I'm trying to,
There.
so they can.
Police enforcement of traffic speed and blah, blah rules.
There.
Okay, so you might, let's identify the official channels we might try.
Building
Police, school principal,
I used to be a commissioner doing this, so
county commissioner.
county commissioner finding out the actual criteria that they're gonna look at to approve a change.
Find the laws.
Traffic
Understand
engineers,
the laws.
okay. So there are a bunch of official channels we could try. Now, being one of the officials, I'll say, I'm so glad you came. Thank you. Thank you. We'll study it. We'll study it. We'll appoint a commissioner. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, when we get more money, you know, where all the towns are hurting right now. All the schools are hurting. Right. So that kind of patronizing response often occurs, doesn't it? Okay. Anybody else want to add a comment like that?
Well, yes. I think you need to identify the corrupt or corrupting influences.
Well, we're trying to take action that makes that obvious. So, we're going to go to the official towns who are supposed to uphold values that we care about, and we're going to tell them of this problem, and they may well be patronizing, so happy we came, et cetera, and nothing gets done. So we're going to form more opposition groups, okay? What other kinds of, what groups could we go to?
PTA.
I didn't hear.
PTA.
PTA.
Neighborhood association.
Neighborhood association.
School board.
School board.
Unions.
Unions. Okay, there are a lot. How about, you know, your sister lives in another neighborhood, maybe they have this problem. So there are other neighborhoods. Okay, so we go to stage 3. We've already shown that the official institutions aren't going to do the job for us.
A question.
Over here with you.
Just so I don't lead myself too far astray.
Yes.
In the relationship to the work I try to do with anti-war.
Right.
We've identified the problem here in this analogy.
Right.
But I found, comparing this with the anti-war work I do,
as I talk to people, all of a sudden, there are people who are upset about somebody that waters lawn, got an RV parked in the like, we need to build baseball parks, and before you know it, if I've got 100 people, I've got 100 different concerns.
Okay.
And everyone agrees on the trucks going too fast, So what do you do about it,
Trying to focus on one task.
Okay, you have to accept my premise for a few minutes.
Okay, yeah.
And the premise is this.
It's not a Christian.
No, I understand that. The premise is this. People in this country are feeling like they can't do anything. But they do have power. And the thing is, it's not going to happen in stage one. I identify the problem, therefore everybody's going to agree and we'll all change it. We have to go through a process. And we have to be patient and understand the stages people are going to go through. Okay? And it applies whether it's the war or it's an environmental degradation or anything. It applies to social change that's nonviolent in the United States. So that's what we're trying to, sometimes getting a little distance from just the war, I think, helps us understand the stages.
And in fact, we talked about what we would use as a scenario, and we intentionally chose something that was not the war, because this is true. These are used for getting a traffic light in your town. They're used for all, these apply to all kinds of social movements, creating all kinds of changes, including abolishing war.
Yeah,
I like the analogy.
Yeah.
Everything. I just wondered what in this analogy,
And
what do you do if somebody is complaining about not enough?
And if people begin to see that that they have some power to make change, then we can harvest that and point it in another direction, because we've gotten people who felt empowered. Let me take you through the stages, or we're not going to get to them. Ripening conditions, the power holders are still unchallenged. At the end of this stage, if we do it well, 30% of the public will see there's a problem and begin to accept joining. We have to prepare ourselves for a major event called takeoff, and that's in stage 4. We have to help people see that violation of our core values is happening here, and it's really serious. Some of you already mentioned, but core values in the United States are what we have to appeal to. So one of the core values was mentioned is children should be safe.
Right.
Okay, and then there are what other core values? Patriotism, equality.
Democracy,
Justice.
freedom, liberty,
Yes.
justice.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, but I do think a core value is that companies should make money. I mean, I do think that
No, that's absolutely true.
Well, no, she's right. That is a core value.
will lead.
People should be able to have a home and food and security and
air to breathe and water.
And air to breathe and so on.
But a core
So
value
in
is a
this-
stable society.
So in this one, we're appealing to a core value. Pretty much everybody can agree children should be safe.
Yeah.
Well, but.
So I want to take you to I want to take you to a couple things that may be helpful. One is that he says it's really important to show victims' faces. A lot of times we argue in an abstract way, and we have our research, our statistics, but we need to show victims' faces. The personal stories and the personal tragedies make all the difference. Say it again.
Winter soldier.
Yes, winter soldier, okay. Form local groups, involve pre-existing institutions, we named a few, but what are some others?
Church, Lions Club, Rotary, all these social things, we never talk to them. Go there, talk to them.
And create small nonviolent actions as models. Begin to help people see that you can take a nonviolent action. What would be one in a small community that's concerned about children's safety?
Write a letter to the editor.
Okay, what's a nonviolent action where you use your body?
Putting a picket up along the street so the trucks can't
A
get in.
picket.
Yeah, exactly. Barriers, yeah.
Barriers. Escorts. One group doing this said, we're going to boycott the school and remove our children. That would get attention. It's called money.
Yep.
Okay.
How do you show the victims' faces? Because media won't cooperate.
Well, I think when children are involved, media will cooperate. photographs of a 5-year-old child beside a big truck, or showing how close trucks come to the children, is probably going to do it. And a personal story of a child?
I have a problem with this. I think that it's more important actually to show the perpetrator's faces.
Okay.
You know, to come at it from another direction.
All right. We're trying to get more people involved right now, so stand with me and see if that will happen, but maybe not at the early stage.
Janet?
Behind you?
Behind Ellie.
I just wanted to mention in the anti-war movement in LA, No More Victims brings children from Iraq that have been damaged by U.S. military, where they get free medical services here. That's had a tremendous impact in the United States in bringing awareness about the war, the injustice of the war.
So it's about the human story and the humanity.
That shows the victims.
The
Face to
trigger-
face is not statistics.
In this little movement we have, a trigger event occurs. So the trigger event might be what?
Child is hurt.
A child is hurt or killed. Then we have not planned it. We did not want it to happen, but we have to have been prepared for when it does happen. And often we aren't. So you can't hide that problem. It's going to be in the public. It's going to be in the newspapers. And the power holders are going to criticize the movement.
Right.
And call us troublemakers, da-da-da-da-da-da. But the public is going to begin to see there really is a problem. They'll be outraged, and we need to take advantage of it and do more education. We could build a more dramatic, nonviolent act. We need to change it.
And we can.
And we can. Yeah. So they're not into alternatives yet, and that's one of the mistakes sometimes we make, is we want to have been talking about a lot of alternatives internally, but the public may not even accept that there's a problem yet. We have to really hit that hard. There is a problem. We can change it, and there are alternatives, and they're not so scary.
We're at a key element there, that 50% fear alternative.
Right.
It's more than 50% actually. There's something about that once it gets to that point, where you were very hot and heavy about these changes, and then all of a sudden, a little bit of risk comes in.
Yeah.
So they're not absolutely against war or absolutely against inequality, but they are, oh, it looks good right now, and then the next day there's a different political thing, and things change, but it takes some time. So there's a lot of cowardice which needs to be overcome by consciousness.
That's why we're trying to help people understand that they can build power and have the experience. And once they have the experience, even if it's just in a local community, they can then feel more willing to take a risk on something bigger.
And you're talking about social risk.
This is a critical point. Boyer says you have to win the public 3 times. First, make them aware of the problem. Second, that they want things changed. First aware of the problem. Second, to realize that the power holders, what they're saying is not what they're doing. They want to change. And third is very critical. So what we did is that people are satisfied with the alternatives. They want the alternatives. So think of the occupation of Iraq. We reached a point very quickly. The majority wanted us as a problem. Everybody wanted us out. But when it came to discussing the alternatives, we weren't there. We did not, and we as a movement did not push that issue. What were the arguments? We've heard them 1,000 times. Oh gosh, if we get out too soon, we'll power the enemy. Oh, we've got to honor the people who already died. But those arguments are the arguments that are designed to try to keep people afraid of the alternatives. And if you don't win people the third time to be in favor of the alternative.
I already spoke once, I'll be very quick here. In the history of all social movements, no real strong progress has ever been made without people taking one of the 4 risks. Risk of loss of livelihood, risk of loss of social standing, risk of loss of personal freedom, or even risk of loss of life. There's never been one, and so whenever people are pulling back from risks, you know they're not it. And
well, this is the thing. There are different roles people play at different times, and not everybody has to go to jail. We tend in the peace movement to create a hierarchy. How many months have you been in prison? Well, have you gone to jail? Have you been arrested? Okay. There is no hierarchy. People have different things they can do, and we need to honor what people do. Some of us need to take those risks, losing money, losing your house for tax resistance, okay, whatever. But not everybody, we can't judge each other on that. We have to show that some of us can take the risk. Anyway, I want to just touch this before we close off. The problem affects everyone, even on that school thing. How is it affecting other people? The problem affecting other people. How do we grow the movement? It's not just the parents of little children. Why not?
The values are core values of the society. It affects everyone.
It affects everybody. Who else does it affect?
The other adults walking the street.
Adults walking the street.
Anyone who cares about children.
Anyone who cares about children.
Child care is not just about the mothers.
It's not just about the mothers, okay.
Collective self-image.
Yeah.
Community self-image.
Okay.
Who are we?
Do you want somebody to die on your street, on your sidewalk, whatever? All the elders who want to take walks, right? And then, as the other two stages really are about success, you can read them on your handout. But we have power here to identify other related movements, things that are happening in the community. So it isn't just about children walking to school. How could that get into another movement in the community?
Public transportation for children having to walk a certain
Public
distance.
transportation, okay. It could be a theme, child safety. Child safety where? In the classroom, in the playground, walking to school. Could be a whole, huge, larger campaign, right? Or it could be about walking and transportation. So it could be about development. It could be about development. And you mean housing development.
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
kind of thing. So the thing is, power has been generated. People have networked. People have learned some skills, how to publicize, how to go to council, et cetera, et cetera. That needs to be utilized and steered into other things that we care about.
So, in the anti-war movement, show how the problem affects everyone. How's the war economy working for you? Is that where we are right now?
So, can I ask a question about the tower holders?
Yes,
Two things that bother me a little bit here.
I said yes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
My sense is the power holders technique, at least at this stage, and most of what I've seen, is to ignore rather than to criticize.
Yeah.
The other thing is, the way this is formulated, the power holders are ipso facto evildoers. I worked in Washington. I worked in the state legislature. That's not my experience with power holders. Power holders are mostly people like us, not us specifically, but ordinary people. And in fact, in most cases, they cut a buck. But they, like the guy who found 100 concerns being stated, that's what happens in the congressional office every day. Maybe not 100, but a hell of a lot, and contradictory ones. So I'm just trying to get a sense of reality here on those points.
Well, I'm not sure what you're asking exactly, but I was trying to make the point that a lot of us move over. Dr. King talked about win them over, win them over. Don't demonize them, win them over.
The power holders.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. As long as we're doing that, rather than, Jack over here was suggesting we need to discredit them. That's, A, it's not gonna work,
Well,
B, it's illegitimate.
You discredit policies and actions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It gives them a way out, too.
Don't personalize the politics to the point of demonizing the individual.
But I'd like to know the difference between a dumb war and a smart war.
Okay, I think we should sit down.
I know, I don't know what I'm talking about.
So obviously we are trying to give an overview. We don't have time to do it. We would like to move into describing the 4 roles that people fill. I like to use the word fill, not play. I am a little, let's see, I need to have 4 groups. can you form one group there, one group there, one group there, and one group here that are about equally sized?
More experienced organizer.
We have trouble forming a group over here. We're gonna need more people over here.
What, 30 years organizing? 40 years? 20 years?
More people over here.
How many sheets are there?
There's one sheet. I've had 3 That's all you need. Look at this side of the sheet. It's entitled Movement and Action Plan Rules Activists Take. This group's going to take Citizen. This group's going to take Rebel. This group's going to take Reformer. This group's going to take Change Agent. What I am going to ask you to do, what I'm going to ask you to do is to read that roll. And I am going to ask you to put together a skit that demonstrates both positive and negative of your role.
Oh.
Is that clear? Yes. No. Yes? Is anybody confused? No. Then I failed to do my usual job of obfuscation. So.
A meeting is a good thing.
We're working with the same issue.
Oh, what's that? Oh, yes. Janet brought up a good point, which is if you're sort of stumbling around trying to think of what would be a place to start with, think about a meeting as a good place to build your scenario from, build your role from. And I'm going to ask this, so what I'm asking for is something where a couple of you will come up and act that out. Act that scenario out.
The negative and positive are from the effective and ineffective,
We're
right?
still with the kids. Yes.
I'm sorry, thank you very much for the clarification. When I said negative and positive, I meant effective and ineffective. And that's a very good distinction. It is positive and negative, it's just effective and ineffective.
One hurts the movement and one helps the movement.
It makes it stronger, it moves it ahead.
That's my question too. Who has an idea as to what professional opposition organizations mean?
We like lobbying organizations that represent the interests that are against what you're for.
Like Sarah,
Yeah, it's like the Israeli lobby against Gaza blockade.
there are people, professional lobbying.
Which are under the category of, or they could be public relations firms that represent the people you're trying to.
Good side, right? Good side. In other words, you need an effective lobbying organization.
Well, you need one, or you need to deal with the one the other side has. Or both.
Sally Ellis already volunteers to be the effective citizen. Oh, you're a supervisor.
So in effective, you would have a relationship that is not where they are power on, but where there's an equal relationship with these other organizations.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what they're suggesting is that you need to find progressive politicians to lobby specifically.
Okay, so who's the,
Or organizers.
who wants to be the organizer?
Yeah, the whole thing confused me. I mean, my basic understanding of a reformer is somebody who works within the system, respects the system, works within the rules, basically accepts the game. They only want to tweak certain things they disagree with, usually not in a very dynamic way. And when they get to that point, they're done.
Well, I think
And they want to lead, and they want to be the beginning and end of policy making and input. They'll get grassroots support, but they don't want that grassroots support to have a democratic say in how the organization goes about things. They just want numbers that go.
I think the most effective thing of the reform kind of movement really is just that it's destined to fail. And so I think when people see that, it's going to like lead them to understand
Not
that.
necessarily. Reform movements are very good with the rights and goals of government. They're good with non-government work and working within that structure. The problem is, all they're going to win is what the structure allows them to.
Yeah, that's what's in the ineffective list, is it shows that like no real social change is going on. It's just small. Like so, like if we were to use our analogy, like, and we were to lobby, we would never stop the trucks through information. But what we could do is get them to like only drive from 3 to 5 p.m. every other day. You know what I mean? Like we could maybe get like some sort of like effective push forward, which would be progress, which is a good thing. But we would never like get effective social change. You know?
Concession.
Yeah, like we can win women's suffrage, we can like smash segregation, but we'll never get like yeah, exactly. So
you got a range of concerns, like the guy said, 100 concerns. What percentage of them do you really, let's assume war is maybe one of the ones. What percentage?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question. What percentage of what?
You know, whether it's putting it away, or saving kids, or any number of things about which ones, paying someone's fees. And then you got things like segregation, you got war, you got down into baseball out. My point is that not every issue, I would say that 90% of issues, you don't want to take down the things that you want to solve this problem. We agree on that or not? We always say things like this. I'm not sure even war.
I mean, I'm not sure throughout the entire course of human history where any sort of reformation
You create a really dynamic movement that's going to have many towards revolutionary change. The goal is to find a place to put everybody into that movement. Some people will be fighters and believe in that. Some people will be sitting in the streets. Some people will be lobbies or Congress people. Some people will just be going around with petition to their neighbors. You find a comfort zone that everybody can work in until you reach a critical mass across a broad range of different actions and activities. And again, you better be ready to deal with
That's how it works. Maybe a good example of that would be like some of Rob Mayor's laws that have their initiatives that have come into practice. Car safety. You're not really changing the system, but that was worked through reformer laws and lobbying groups that came on.
You start with the property these were all reform movements. What's the new deal? And its criticism from the left was that it saved capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, it did preserve a system that's still
don't say, how are you doing?
I think we're getting there. I think we're about to get there. We're trying to figure out what our delegation is. mean, I think within our example, we could have somebody positing to political officials saying, this is our problem, we can go over like the trucks issues, and like the good news is that like he can tell the person who's lobbying, you know, I can work with the system, we can get some laws passed, you know, we can start a watchdog group to like have transparency, but then ultimately on the ineffectiveness you go through, I think one of the biggest one is PLO, realistic politics, and it's minor reforms rather than social change. So I think that we can show from there that it's like, well, I can't stop the trucks, but what I can do is like limit them to this time, these days, you know, because like that, and that shows that like that's a step forward, you know, but it's not social change.
So what about professional opposition organizations like PTA?
Yeah. Like so, like someone from the PTA is coming and saying, "Hey, we need some sort of law passed. This is ridiculous." But then at the end of the day, his answer is, "Well, these are the laws I can get passed, and that's all I can do." And that will show like his effectiveness and his ineffectiveness.
Any other ideas from other people? Do we want to like have people take on a role?
Who's some street theater activists here, huh? Who's like street theater activists?
Not at all.
We got a volunteer right here.
Why don't you be our PTA member and you can be our Congress official since you already kind of have that experience? And maybe some like people like, and the rest of us will just be outside with our sign. We'll be the movement people.
We should also try to dominate. We should also try to say that we can put our resources in maintenance rather than trying to mess around with your yeah, we should also try to, like you said, like you just illustrated, when you can't do it, we'll just do this.
I think that kind of like shows like all of the ineffective points, really.
Well, we can have two different groups, like the PTA and then maybe like a student group that's more non-partisan.
But then at the end, like they'll all just disperse, and that like the last point here shows that like ultimately grassroots movements in the idea of reformation give power to the officials instead of the grassroots movement. And so like when the PTA member comes out and says, oh, he's going to pass these laws, we'll just disperse, and that shows that like it kind of dead by giving him power. Yeah, I think so, right? Oh yeah. What is our narrative? Are we bringing in the narrative of the example? Yeah. So she'll be with the PTA. Yeah, she'll be lobbying, telling him, you know, like work with the PTA, and then we'll be like building a more militant movement outside, and which will be dispersed by the Reformation. Yeah. Help the kids down the trucks.
It's like that fire, stop the truck.
Stop these trucks.
Run me over.
John? May I have your attention, please? Okay, let's just open, no, let's start out. I'm going to have a group act it out. I think maybe we can do right from where you're sitting. Are you folks ready?
Yes, we are.
You two are do the roll.
Okay, we're here at the PTA meeting and somebody wants to present the problem to us.
Oh, look, I've got two kids. And they play outside in the yard. They run across the street sometimes to visit their friends. And we have these damn trucks that are coming down the street 100 miles an hour. And one of these days, my kids are going to get hit. And your kids are doing the same thing. We've got to do something about this.
These are the rebels. I'm sorry. These are the rebels.
Yeah. So what should we do?
Well, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Write letters to the editor? I mean, they're not going to pay any attention. How many times have we done that about everything else?
Well, what would you do?
Well, I mean, you got to get their attention. You gotta do something.
Yeah.
You gotta, you know, let's be effective here.
So?
Well, these damn trucks are rolling through. I'll tell you what.
Okay.
I got a great idea. Every Monday is trash pickup day in our neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So all these trash barrels around the street.
Yeah.
Okay. So we get some people, we dump trash all across the street. We turn the barrels upside down. Okay. That's gonna stop those trucks.
Yeah.
All right. And we're veterans, we know how to shoot, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When those damn trucks stop, we shoot out their tires. And we don't even let the driver get out of the truck because they're throwing rocks at the truck.
Oh, okay.
Throwing rocks at the windows. So he's gonna stay in that truck, there's nothing he can do.
What do you guys think?
So we need to gather up a lot of rocks.
What do you think?
I like the idea, we can have our kids do that.
All right. Any other suggestions?
Well, I'm supposed to be the reasonable one here.
Oh, you are.
Your pick, John, for the reasonable one?
Gotta work with what you have.
Well, we decided, you know, we have to do a picket. We have to do a picket. That's our instinct. That's what we want to do. So we figured out we talked it around and we figured out the best place was City Council of the Mayor Headquarters, right? And so we're going to go there and we're going to be consistent. We're going to have it there every day for 6 hours and we're just going to stay there until it leaves.
We can't throw any trash?
We're going to get no
No
trash,
rocks?
no gunfire. We're going to
No, that's never
just
gonna
be
work.
responsible.
That's never gonna work. I mean, how many years has the peace movement been doing this kind of stuff? Walking around with signs, picketing, and what does the government do? They say, well, isn't it nice we have free speech in America?
Doesn't work.
You know?
Okay, so that's about it.
All right, yeah.
Nice job. So who was the effective one? Who was the ineffective one?
I like this shooting the tires.
You know,
We know you do.
I gotta tell you something, that's a really great comment, because I often look at my own myself, and I often think, yeah, I like that! Oh, but that ain't maybe not the most effective. So that's a really good point. Great. Any questions about the rule?
No, but I think, again, just to mention, effective and ineffective, what will make people join you? And what will make people turn away from you?
Well, if we get publicity in the vigil and
You want publicity.
people see it as legitimate, that we're not lunatics, that
But the
we're
other action,
serious members of the
people would be
community.
afraid to join you.
We're them, basically.
Except sensation seekers.
Or like you.
Okay, this is a tough group. Go ahead.
Are they the reformers?
They are the reformers.
So we're having a militant protest outside, and our PTA activist is now going to go in and speak to the congressional official and try to lobby on our behalf.
The guy on the board of the county commission, whatever.
And this is our agitator who's leading the somewhat militant group outside.
Up with kids, down with trucks.
Up with the kids, down with the trucks.
Okay, what we need to do is to talk to the trucking company. We need to talk to the truck drivers, and if there's unions involved, we need to communicate with them too. And we need to go to the public officials and tell them that they have to put laws into effect to keep that speed limit down, protect the kids, and there has to be crossings, synchronized crossings for those children, so they can cross the street and not be afraid, and us not be afraid that they're going to be hurt.
And the public official, which is me, right?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. I got 10 minutes. How many people are out there?
500.
Stop these trucks!
500.
Stop these trucks! Stop these trucks!
Close that window.
That's great sign.
I got 500. And what is this? You want to stop the trucks from running kids over?
Yes.
No problem.
Well, are you willing to negotiate, to go with us, to talk to the trucking company to make our demands so that these children are protected?
Well, see, the trucking company gives me $1,000 a year, and
they're also voters.
Well, I'd be glad to look into this.
Well, actually, also, you've got a bit of a point. What we really need to do is we need to get these people, and go and talk about our signs and things,
we're spending, we're out there prematurely. We're not, if we organize this up a little bit better, we'll do a better job, when we come back next year.
Well, I know that the truck drivers are also unions, and I'm Italian, and we're gonna make them an offer they can't.
I will not subscribe to such racial profiling. What do you want from me? I'm from New Jersey, I could talk that way. Well, I will take this up with Jack Smith, and I will take it up with the unions, and I will get back to you in a day.
A
How's
day.
that?
Okay, what time should I call you tomorrow? I'll make an appointment with your secretary.
10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, it's good to see you.
Thank you for your time.
I need 5 salespersons, you're hired. Follow up. Commitment, follow up.
Next, oh yeah, great job, wasn't it? Does somebody in this group want to sort of briefly describe the role of the reformer? Go ahead.
Okay, so we'll basically, we had a militant movement outside, and the PTA agent went inside to speak to the congressional official who obviously, had some issues with getting our demands heeded immediately. But he was willing to work within the system as much as he could, provided not losing his campaign donations and stuff like that, which is a good thing, because any progress is good progress. Getting women's suffrage and ending Jim Crow is a good thing, even though we didn't get total equality that we wanted. It's still progress, so that was good. But unfortunately, the bad thing was our militant movement was dispersed because we now are putting our faith into this system of reformation, and that kind of dies down some of our militancy. And in the end, the most social change that will come from this agreement that we have with this political official is maybe the trucks won't drive on our streets every other day between these hours. So it'll be progress, but at the end of the day, there'll still be trucks on our streets.
Trying to be careful about time. Yeah, one more. But I'm going to do sort of a little summing up now. Leave room for maybe one. Obviously, we're just trying to hit the highlights. Actually, what we're trying to do is just give you enough of a taste of your treat so you get the book. Read the book. Because I think it'll evolve a lot more.
Is the book here?
Is the book here, available here? I don't know whether you can buy it here.
Oh, not.
Check with PM, maybe?
No. Anyway, you want to go home and do it. If you get the book, read chapter 4. Read chapter 4. Read chapter 4. Read chapter 4. Chapter 4 is a chapter that talks about powerlessness and the advantage of being a victim and all those disparities. And it's very easy to lose it in the book. Another thing I want to bring up. In your group, did you watch the dynamics of decision making? Did you watch the dynamics of decision making?
Yeah.
Was there like that one voice that would pull in the group? Were there people who were silent? Who may have had really good ideas, incidentally. Was there a real emphasis of drawing that knowledge out together? Anyway, always works.